Ladies and gentlemen, we are so pleased to welcome two very special guests to the Midday Magazine. They were featured on 2020, People, and Vogue magazines, and the New York Times wrote about Katie Rain Hill, who was 19 in the process of transitioning from male to female when she met Aaron Andrews, 18, who was undergoing his own transformation from female to male. And while supporting each other through these major life changes, these two teens fell in love. And now the former couple shares their stories in two first-of-their-kind separate memoirs at your favorite bookstore and online. By Aaron Andrews, the book is Some Assembly Required, the not-so-secret life of a transgender teen, and Katie Rain Hill's Rethinking Normal, a memoir in transition. Both Katie and Aaron, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'd like, having met... was it at a transgender support group in Tulsa? Is that where you met?
Yeah, we had a couple meetings.
Our first contact.
Okay.
Had first contact when we went to our local equality center for a trans support group.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten off work that night, so I wasn't exactly in the best mood. So we didn't get to talk too much then, but we went a week or two later to another local support group, youth support group. That had a dance going on, and that's when we hit it off and we exchanged numbers, and we were on a date the next day. And within 2 or 3 weeks, we were dating.
Did you think that hitting it off together, having everything click, was going to turn into one of the most widely publicized romantic relationships ever?
I never thought that would happen. I just thought, hey, she's cute, let's date, and into that. So it's kind of crazy what it turned into, but it's really crazy how supporting each other has turned into something where we can affect others.
Yeah. I want to talk about that kind of support. Did you help each other through your sexual struggles?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, not so much sexual struggles, but we were both going through our transitions. I was close to the end of my physical transition, and Aaron was just starting his. But even though I was almost done with mine, I still had the emotional parts of it to go through. I still had the feelings to work out and to come to terms with who I was and accepting myself. And I had, and I was there for Aaron through his transition when he got his first hair to when he got his mustache to body hair and et cetera, et cetera. So we've been there for each other through thick and thin, from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're still there for each other, and we're going to always be there for each other.
Okay, Katie, you and Aaron, you ended the romantic part of the relationship, but you're still very close, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think, we're both really busy with college and everything, so we don't really see each other that often. But I think we'll always be really special to each other because we have that connection that you really can't share with anyone else unless you're transgender. And, it so happens that we dated and we've been through each other through every step of the way. So we will always have each other's backs.
Well, I want to ask, because on behalf of listeners who are turning up the volume right now saying, what? Since your gender reassignment surgery, when was it, Katie? In 2012?
Yes.
Would you say that, you're living the life of an ordinary girl? Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, it's ordinary as it can get. Like right now, I'm talking to you on the radio and in a studio, so it's got differences from most normal people. Like most normal couples don't spark a big media uproar about transgenderism and nonsense like that. But I go to college. I have to juggle friends and family and relationships, and I stress about midterms, and I go through normal teenage problems now, where before it was deep depression and hating my body and worrying about the future and thinking that no one was going to care for me. And now I get to just be me. I get to be a normal person, and I get to be happy for being me.
Yep. How about you, Aaron?
I kind of joke about this with my friends. I feel like Hannah Montana in Best of Both Worlds because One day I will be in New York, and the next day I'll be back at home riding dirt bikes with my cousins and with my friends and stuff, and we're just being, teenagers. So, I live an ordinary life for sure. I mean, I go to college and I study for midterms just like Katie.
Yeah.
Everything like that. But then again, we'll be doing that, and in the next 24 hours we're sitting up here in New York in the studio talking on behalf of transgenders. So I think we definitely were the best of both worlds, and still being able to live an ordinary life and not be entirely publicized on everything, but
sure,
have a chance to support others and share.
Aaron, I'm going to ask you to speak up just a little louder because we want to hear every word you say. How about your parents? Were they in favor, or were they supportive, or were they not in favor? Were they, with a question mark? What about your parents in this change?
Right, well, this is no doubt a very complicated and dense subject. I don't think any parent wants to see their child go through this. Even if they're supportive, it's still a very hard thing. I've seen very supportive parents still have a hard time with this, and that's okay. But both of our moms at the beginning had tough times. They had trouble getting used to the pronouns and calling us by our proper gender identity, he, she, etc. But overall, I feel like at least my mom, I know Aaron's too, but for instance, my mom was always supportive from the get-go. She put aside her biases and put aside her prejudice ideals to support me, because she knew that I was going to die. I was going to kill myself if I didn't have her support and her love. And she much rather preferred seeing me happy and going through a change that maybe she didn't agree with over me dying, simply because she wasn't going to be there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's the same story as my mom. When you come out as transgender or anything, you kind of have to be aware that it's not only your transition, it's your family's transition, because they're also switching pronouns and they're also switching names. And not that it's a hard thing to ask someone to do, because it's what you are and what you need.
Sure.
But I was always aware that it's going to be part of my family, just because that's what they know me for 15 years. And when I started transitioning, I changed everything. But after a year or so, my mom finally got on board with everything, and along with my family. And I mean, now I'm sitting there with my very religious 82-year-old grandpa calling me his favorite grandson. So I mean, it's really amazing what kind of change a family can make.
If you're just tuning in, folks, we are delighted to welcome Katie Rain Hill and Aaron Andrews. Now, Aaron is the author of Some Assembly Required, The Not-So-Secret Life of a Transgender Teen, and Katie is the author of Rethinking Normal, a memoir in transition. Perhaps you've seen their interview on 2020 or read about them in Vogue, People Magazine, New York Times, and Barney's New York ad campaign. But back to this issue, how many transgender people are there, do you think?
A lot more than what we know.
All right. Why do you say that? It's interesting. Why would you say that, Katie?
Well, I mean, this is something hard to deal with. We have statistics. We say it's
less than 1% of the
less than 1% of the population. But at the same time, that's not accounting for the people who are still hiding and still in or stealth. I mean, you can only count so many people who want to come forward. It's not including the people who truly feel that way. We didn't get the courage to come out to our family until we were 15, 16, and there are some people who don't have, or not, I shouldn't say courage, but who can't come out when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. People go decades before they accept who they are and try to get people to accept them and understand them. There are a lot more. Most likely, anybody, the listeners, know at least one person who is at least questioning their gender identity or is ambiguous on the subject.
Right. And helping us understand transgender. Why are people transgender? What causes it?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, do you want to see what it is?
I mean, they've done some studies on it, but they don't really know. Some people say it's like the hormones in the mother's womb when the baby are forming.
Did you say hormones?
Hormones.
Yeah.
Some kind of imbalance in the mother's womb when they're developing as a baby. But it used to be a psychology thing. I don't know, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, it's been called disorders and all that, and now it's not. But honestly, it's kind of like me asking somebody, when did you know you were a girl? How do you know you're a girl? How do you know you're a boy? Most people are just going to say, I just knew, I just did. And we say the same thing. And for me, I have the satisfaction of that because even when I hit puberty, I developed female qualities. I didn't have a deep voice. I got hips, so I biologically even started kind of developing as a girl when I hit puberty. So people just know. You knew at a certain age what your gender identity was, and so did we. There wasn't ever like this spark, this moment that we figured out that we were trans, or that we understood that we were female or male. We just always knew.
Just like someone born with a birth defect, it's kind of like that, like born without a limb or anything like that.
Right.
It's our same situation, except we're born in a different body.
Mm-hmm. Was there any mention of, well, you need to go to counseling and consult a health professional, anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I probably went to at least half a dozen to a dozen therapists when I was a kid. But, I mean, for one, I was chronically depressed because of my situation. I hated my body. I felt like a freak. I felt othered. And that's what the source of my depression and my suicidal tendencies came from. And yeah, people said, oh, this is just a phase, or this isn't real, you're going to grow out of this. And I said, I'm 20 years old, and there are people who are 50, 60 who apparently are still waiting to grow out of it. This isn't a phase. This is something real. This is something concrete. We're not mentally ill. We don't have crazy tendencies. That's what our books are trying to tell, is like, read this. See just how normal we are. We live in everyday lives. There's nothing wrong with us. We just had this issue that we worked out, and it's much better that now we are happy individuals who live fulfilling lives than before, when we were trying to live this fake life, trying to be what everybody else wanted us to be, and we were miserable. And it's that simple. We were just trying to be happy.
Yeah. There are a lot of medical costs, high costs in transitioning, or?
Yeah. Transitioning is not cheap. I know my, top surgery, including hotel and travel, was about $10,000, and that's just to get my chest reconstructed into more masculine. And Katie's.
The bottom surgery for males to females can run up anywhere from like $40,000 when you include travel and all that, but it's up to like hundreds of thousands of dollars for females to males. I mean, I guess you could say it's easier to dig a hole than it is to build a pole, how crude that ever that is. But yeah, the people don't talk about that. Insurance companies don't recognize transgenderism as a real thing. They don't cover hormones. They don't.
My hormones.
Oh yeah, some insurance do, but most of them are still like on the edge or completely against it. Like my insurance, for instance, didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to do anything with it. Mm-hmm. But the costs are high, hormones are expensive, and then you have to worry about facial reconstruction surgery if you're MTF or maybe FTM, and laser hair removal, and the top surgery, bottom surgeries. I mean, you have to do a lot of
gym
things.
Fees, protein shakes.
Yeah. It's also important to understand that not all trans people want surgeries. We are two individual stories, and we don't speak for all trans people.
Right.
But a lot of transgender people don't need the hormones or don't need the surgeries. They are completely okay with just accepting the fact that they live outside the binary of male and female. Yeah. So that's also important to mention, that not every transgender person needs to have surgery or reconstruction to feel complete and to feel normal.
Well, with medical costs high on one hand, what are the social costs to transitioning?
Well, that's another thing. It's detrimental. You will lose people, even if you live in a supportive community.
Right.
You most likely will lose friends and family members, and you will be ridiculed, and it's hard. Yeah. It takes a lot of courage and guts to come out, because there are always going to be there's going to be implications for you coming out. It's never easy, and that's why Aaron and I felt like we needed to do this. We needed to write a book to try to inspire those people to say, it's okay that you're different. You don't have to be afraid. If two normal teenagers from Oklahoma can go out and make it and survive and win, so can you. Yeah. You can do this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I always like to point out, even though it may be hard, you gain a few friends in it.
Speak up a little louder, Aaron.
I always like to point out in in the lighter side of everything,
yeah.
in the process of coming out, you may lose a friend, but you're going to gain 3 on the other.
That's interesting.
Person that is happier and funner to be around, and it's just all around a much better thing for yourself to transition.
Yeah. Aaron, both you and Katie, I have a minute left here. So in this time, I want you both to have the final word and tell us. I know around the country there are laws and policies, attitudes. They're changing. They're making life better for transgender people overall. But is enough being done about the discrimination that transgender people face?
Well, there's definitely still discrimination that transgender people face. In a lot of states, people can fire us without any reason, and that's totally illegal. And the hate crimes and stuff like that. And the military still doesn't allow transgender service. So there's definitely some steps we need to take, but we're definitely getting there too, one step at a time, and bringing more awareness to the subject.
Yeah, I guess it's important for the community to understand that this is a slow process, and I know we all want it to happen right now and quickly, but we have to work with people. This is a very complicated, very dense, very scary thing to work with, and that's why we have to take it. We have to be considerate about other people. We are in an informational golden age about this, about LGBT community people in the media coming out. But like Aaron said, there's the insurance companies and labor laws and all that keep us from being happy and having the same rights as everybody else, simply because we were born differently. We are considered abnormal, which is what we talk about in our books, that there is no such thing as being different. There is no such thing as being normal. We're just trying to be happy. And there's a lot of misconceptions about the LGBT community, especially trans people. And our books are meant to debunk those, to teach people a different perspective on life and to give them the truth about what it means to be us, that we're not these freaks that need to be ridiculed and outcasted.
And the books, Rethinking Normal, a memoir in transition by Katie Rainhill, and Some Assembly Required, The Not-So-Secret Life of a Transgender Teen by Aaron Andrews, available at your favorite bookstore. And to both of you, thank you so much for joining me here on the Midday Magazine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You helped us understand a lot better. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Be well.